also, the other item I would like to bring up, and let me bring that here. We have February theme suggestions. So be sure and submit your themes for next month on what themes you want the panelists to talk about and discuss and answer questions or solutions, provide potential solutions. And make sure you go to din.social, go to the World Blockchain Roundtable, or the WBRT layer. We call them layers, but categories, on din.social, and post your theme. What would you like us to talk about in the month of February? Remember, the show's every Thursday. And
Greg has arrived
at our door. Who is it? It is none other than Greg from Rivet.
Hey guys.
Welcome, Greg.
I didn't know you came to this coffee shop.
Give us a mic check. I don't know if I heard you.
Oh,
we can hear you now.
Check.
Yeah.
1, 2. Check.
There we
1,
go.
2.
Sorry for spoiling it there, William. I mean, Emperor.
That's cool.
No worries.
That is cool.
Yes. I'm an emperor. They'll probably put it on my tombstone someday. But I was voted in as an emperor of a DAO. I think the first emperor in the world of being voted in as an emperor of a DAO. Unique and strange. But anyway, back to the real life. Make sure you submit your suggestions for themes, your proposals for themes for the month of February. But today's episode, like I said, is regulatory pushback versus fundamental human right to financial privacy. Before we jump into this topic, we might have some other guests joining us. Before we jump in, though, I was wondering if there's any, kind of groundwork, fundamental principles or comments or things or suggestions that you'd like to talk about before we start digging into the questions.
Well, yeah. I guess I could throw off first. Monero has just flipped Bitcoin Cash, and that is very privacy focused.
Whoa, that's
decentralized relative to other, publicly known projects.
So in the market cap, it flipped it, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's freaking nuts, considering like how much easier it is to get Bitcoin Cash than it is to get Monero.
Yes.
And
they're putting pressure on the market availability despite the fact that it doesn't go on any major exchange.
Weren't there just a bunch of Monero wallets frozen or taken by some government somewhere? What's that, Korea?
Frozen in the epistemic sense of frozen.
Well,
right? Like
yeah.
They're not actually able to do it. It's just that they can say that if you use it, we'll punish you.
Right.
If we find you.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe that actually lend to people saying like, look, yeah, they froze it, but they can't do anything to us because they couldn't find us because the privacy actually worked.
Exactly.
So, counter measure to it.
It's one of those stories that, yeah. Oh my God, that's a very good point, Lisa. I actually wrote about that in, I think, Return of the Adult. Once they make a move that breaks their sort of power, right? Their ability to demonstrate that when they like they've lost a certain kind of power. They're like a couple kinds of power. They can make rules and they can apply punishments, right? They can force you to suffer in exchange for doing an act. But they lost the ability long ago, actually, to just leave the room and reality stays the same, right? Like they outlawed the thing. It used to be that like if you outlawed a business or sued it and jailed the founder, the business went away, right? Now they've made the thing illegal and basically confessed to their powerlessness because despite the fact that they've said the world is such, right? The world is not such. Only as long as they're in the room is it so. And then the other piece of it too is like a big part of it is symmetry of law, right? You've got a bunch of bureaucrats accepting themselves as people who are not bound by the rules. Rather, they are the exceptions meant to enforce the rules on the plebs below. But in reality, the way our law is supposed to work, it's supposed to be symmetrical. It's supposed to go both ways. So if they want to like change mens rea so that foresight and control equals intent for a criminal act, like they did with Roman Storm or Keon or Bill, right? Then they have to apply that both ways, or it's obviously selective application of law, which is an obvious another way of saying persecution, right? It's phony law in that sense. And
has that case settled yet? The Roman Storm case?
No, unfortunately. And that's the shitty part, right? Because they get what they want with the delay, right? Even if in the end the judges come back and say, no, prosecutors, you're morons, and by the way, you sold that Bitcoin, buddy, so we need to talk about your indictment. Like that whole thing is just it just hasn't played out. But the fact that it hasn't played out is the problem, because it's right now chilling builders.
Because if it comes down to them holding him accountable for that, then there is precedence that then could be turned on the Fed, Jamie Dimon, Morgan Chase, all of those. So because they do hold people accountable with precedence now instead of actual law.
Exactly. So if they don't immediately turn around and say that foresight, given control and awareness in advance of a potential ill, right? That's non-zero. Mm-hmm. It's like the logic is always for them. Oops, unintended consequences, right? Mm-hmm. They don't get that anymore. Not if we're going to think about the law being applied like this.
Your emperor,
everybody. We have
someone at the door.
Another friend has joined us, and not only is he a friend, but he's everybody's friend. He is none other than Satoshi Sean. Welcome.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Glad to have you. Are you ready to talk privacy and regulations and fundamental right to privacy today, Sean?
I don't know, but if I didn't want to, I should have the ability to not.
Right.
Well said. Good. All right. Well, without any further ado, I propose we go into the questions. What do you all say? Ready? We ready?
I'm down with
it. Seconded, my liege.
All right. I got the Robert Rules of Order right here on my bookshelf somewhere. I should break it out and put that in play here. All right. First question. Oh, I didn't refresh.
How dare you? I think your emperorship is up for question.
Yep. All right. Bill of Rights. Freedom of speech includes spending cash or transaction with privacy coin tokens? I don't know. So this is our first question of the day. Is financial privacy a human right? I'm going to start with Greg.
Oh, I would say that privacy as a right may not be the right frame. I think that self-ownership is the right frame, right? You have a right to own yourself. Otherwise, and more, it's an inalienable right. You cannot sell yourself into slavery, right? You cannot be an indentured servant in any meaningful way because there's no way to enforce that contract in terms that are external to you.
You can sell parts.
They can try to force you. But you can try to run, and there's nothing they can do to stop you from no longer being a slave the second you decide, right? So it's a null contract from the start. Now, given that, right, the question becomes, what kind of contributory rights do we need to acknowledge in order to protect that right to self-ownership? And that's how I see privacy.
Right.
Well, he said the question was financial, right? Financial privacy. There's a big difference.
Yeah, and is financial privacy a human right?
It's lofty, and I agree with when it comes to just financial, it's very important. But
if you can own money,
human right.
If you can own property, then you can own money because money's property. And if you can own property at all, you can own yourself, right? So the two things are connected. You can't say right. So what I'm saying is, yes, it is 100%, absolutely, affirmatively a human right. It has to be, otherwise we lose our right to self-ownership.
Wow, that is a tiny hair that you just split.
Tiny what?
A tiny hair that you just split.
It is.
But I think you're talking about self-own. You did preface in the beginning with just having the ability to. I think that privacy. It's like I own myself, but I choose who knows that. I don't think that's like a human right, or I think I would classify that as one of the first world problems that the human
rights can't be taken away from you entirely without your consent. Is the question. Then it can be a fundamental human right. And I think the answer is no, right? Even in prison, they can pry your skull open and make you say what you're thinking and have any way to tell whether or not that's true.
But now Google has a patent for that of reading your mind. So
yeah, well, so Sean, they're gonna hit a wall with that one because I think they just misunderstand the mind.
Really muddied up on the. I think if you had a panel of like 1,000 regular Joes, it would go completely the other way. But I would take Greg over 1,000 professors when it comes to intelligence. So he is going to make like really a very, very educated, intelligent, and a little bit philosophical points and argument. But I think overall, just it's like it's something that everyone has and it can't be taken away. But it's all in the definition. I think fundamental.
Well, and Sean, I would split another hair here and say what I'm saying is it is a fundamental right, but can we defend it reliably in any way that we have the power to do is the other question that you're kind of like blending. And I think that's an important one that has a more nuanced answer like you're trying to give.
Yeah. And do we have the
I will go next, and then we'll go with Andrew and then Lisa to finish off. So the answer is we are all sheeple. We are property of the state. We are farm animals, and therefore we are not entitled to any of these rights. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong answer only. I'm on the wrong week, the wrong show.
That was last episode.
No, honestly, rights are by force. So yes, we might say that our rights are inalienable. They come from God, or we are born with those rights. However, they must be defended because either some institution, some regime, some government, an individual, group of individuals, association will attack those rights. And so rights, when it's obviously by force, they must be protected. And I guess there are far too many people that probably don't think about it or want to fight for it or don't see a need to fight for it, and don't think that financial privacy is a human right. They think that, well, yes, the government should find out if someone is transacting illegally, like dealing in drugs or whatever it might be, human trafficking or whatever that the item might be. They might want the government to be able to see all those transactions and for them to be visible to maybe an approved source. Let's call it the IRS or the NSA. So I think that's where it gets also very gray and murky, is we argue about the point, is it a human right? Does the state have, the authority to say you have financial privacy, but you don't because you violated XYZ law? And sadly, far too many of us bow to the state and give up those rights. We don't fight back. We don't push back. And so I guess if you might say it is a human right, then great, so be it. Are you ready to fight for it? Are you ready to die for those rights? That would be my answer.
Yeah.
How about you, Andrew? What say you?
Okay, I'm going to start off with a very narrow quote. I'm not saying I agree with it. It's just to define my point. Political power grows out of a barrel of a gun. Mao Zedong said that, right? Obviously, we're not interested in fighting, with physical conflict and, launching a civil war and all that. That's why we're in this space, is because we're interested in finding a compromise to peacefully move forward in society in order to more balance, the balance of power between, the state and the individual.
Mhm.
So when you say is a freedom of speech does it include spending cash or transacting with privacy coins or tokens? I believe so. Mises said the criterion of truth is that it works even if no one's prepared to believe it. Spending money, like Greg said, is spending cash is an action, and it's indifferent to the fact if it's a public ledger or a private ledger. It's still an action, and if it's still sustainable in the private mode, you have to give more credit and more lenience towards privacy than you had to do public, because people are more willing to use private transactions because they don't want other people knowing their business. That's their business. I understand that there's consequences to that. I'm not saying that there are not. But if you want freedom of speech, you have to have freedom through privacy. That's a fundamental layer. And that's my perspective.
Good
well,
point.
And financial reach is its own kind of freedom of reach, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Lisa, what do you think?
You're on mute.
Oh, you're muted, Lisa.
Sorry, there's construction going on outside. I think you guys all made great points. I agree that financial privacy is a human right. I think that too many times people are lazy, and the system is set up for the lazy. And so you have to choose to use money as a tool, and it comes in many different forms. And you can be tricked into using public tools that don't offer you privacy. And sometimes there's a reason to make a public transaction. Maybe sometimes that's beneficial for your transaction. You need that transaction to be public. When you need those transactions to be documented on a public ledger for historical reasons. Privacy is not always the best option for every transaction. Transactions are messages, and money is a weight or measure in a conversation between two people that sometimes is a private conversation, and
put your money where your mouth is,
to validate that transaction. And sometimes that's a private transaction, and sometimes that needs to be a public transaction. But either way, it should be between peer-to-peer. It should always be peer-to-peer, in my opinion. But that should be that decision of that individual. So I do believe it's a human right to make that decision, but we just have to, not be lazy.
That's another really good point, Lisa. It makes me. Can I do this one real quick? This is a really good capstone.
Sure, and then we have someone else knocking on the door to bring up. Go ahead.
Cool. It makes me think about the fact that what we're doing with our money is putting value weight communications in the world, right? Like we vote with our dollar. We vote by not spending it just as much as we vote by spending it. And when we are forced to vote with our dollar, it loses its meaning. It doesn't stay money anymore the second you're forced to spend it.
That's right.
Good point. Lisa, we have a special guest that you've invited. I was wondering if you could give us a real quick introduction to this fine gentleman, and then I will bring him up to the screen so he can debate and debunk your introduction.
So I invited my dear friend, Johnny Litecoin. He is one of the founding members of the Litecoin fam. He is a legend in payments processing and all things Litecoin. Just a roundabout hell of a guy. So, Johnny Litecoin.
I concur. We're honored to have him here. So, drum roll, please. And to the stage we bring Johnny Litecoin. Welcome.
Hey.
Hi. Hey.
Thank you for that introduction. That was mighty kind.
Good to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome in.
Thank you. Sorry I was late. I was thinking, I don't know why, in my mind it was 12. I'm like, got gonna go on with Lisa and them at 12, and then all of a sudden I looked at my phone. I'm like, it's 11. So
I think I told you your time, and you were probably thinking I was telling you my time.
I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm sorry, you guys.
No worries. We're just happy to have you here, Johnny. Well, Johnny, obviously we're talking about financial privacy here. This was the first question that was presented. What's your quick take? Is financial privacy a human right?
Yeah, of course it is. And even it's funny that this comes up in crypto, that it's such a big deal, and people, there's all this negative press about privacy coins and all this stuff. I mean, your bank account is somewhat private. I mean, we always say you don't walk around with your bank statement and your previous transactions listed on your shirt and you walk around in public. People keep that information very private, very hidden. So it's funny that in crypto, when we talk about it, people say, privacy coins, that's for criminals, or that's bad. It's like, but this is the same thing that people expect in the legacy financial system. We're kind of just bringing it over to the crypto world. That's what I don't get. So it's obviously a human right. Privacy in general is a human right. And of course, financial privacy takes it a step further. The only reason that this is a big deal is because of this, the USA Patriot Act that I talk about sometimes, that this kind of, they were out catching terrorists, but it was weaponized against each and every one of us. And, now we have to deal with all this crap 25 years later.
Yeah.
Temporarily.
Yeah.
25 years later.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, it was temporarily supposed to be.
Well, people are making memes about that and joking about, you're worried about my $60 Venmo transaction. And meanwhile, we're seeing what's happening in Minnesota with the Somalian daycares and whatever. I mean, so Tony's point, I mean, what people are saying, they're worried about privacy and, or not worried about privacy, but worried about these, transactions happening. And then it's been turned around and weaponized against we the people. So,
I think it's so much in your face, the ridiculous, like what you just said, that people are just, it's not even that they're fed up, they're just guffawed, that it's like, you're worried about my, coffee spending when you can't keep track of millions of dollars going to, the same address for 20 different. I saw one, it was like a store, like a grocery store, or, but there was like 15 stores in the stores that each got millions each. And they're just they had like booths. It was ridiculous. And I think people are just, it's so bad that there's no respect anymore. Like, no, you're ridiculous to say that. You're ridiculous to think that for me to trust you, no way.
They're going to weaponize this also against us, this Minnesota thing. I've already hearing about it. I guess starting in March, the majority of banks are required now to flag every cash transaction over $200. And they have to fill out the same type of paperwork that they did starting in the 1980s of transactions, $10,000.
$10,000 one? Jeez.
And
I hope the government applies that to itself.
Adjusted for inflation, that should be $40,000 or $50,000 right now. That threshold, not $200. And they're using the fraud in Minnesota as the scapegoat. This is kind of bringing me back to like 9/11. It's like, wait a minute, 9/11, you use that as a scapegoat to roll out the Patriot Act. Now you're using fraud in Minnesota to weaponize this against us. And now I'm starting to question it. There's fraud everywhere, but is this Minnesota stuff, is all of it real? Is some of it fake to rile people up, to get them behind? Yeah, we need to really go after everybody. And then meanwhile, it's like, wait a minute, they're just coming after us. So,
it's the art of war. I mean, the government creates the problem, like it did. It gave away billions of dollars, and then they come in with the solution to fix it, which is really just getting more power.
Yep. Bingo.
When they didn't use the power they had.
Bingo.
Well,
we
have a point about this, about something that William said, how people accept it, and CBDCs. We're talking about financial privacy. This everyone is like on board, and this is completely legal, and this is how we do things. If you drink and drive, you're going to have to put something into your vehicle, even on your motorcycle, where you have to breathe into it and prove that you are not drunk before you can drive. That's a huge invasion of privacy, but everyone's like, yeah, that's fine. That's good. We've never had the ability to do that with someone where they can't buy the alcohol in the first place. We're going to move to the level where you can't purchase that because they could just turn certain things off on your CBDC.
Yeah. It's yeah, brain fart. Forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. Sorry, I lost track.
It's crazy where we've gotten to of our rights being taken from us, where they're trying to bring us to. A lot of these people that are pushing this stuff. I've been at a conference before in DC. And listening to these people talk about how they want to track all of us. And these are fellow Americans. These people are sick. These are sick freaking lunatics, these people, that they want to come after all of us, and they get a power over it. We have to really fight. There is some good people that I've heard saying that, hey, crypto needs more privacy in order for Wall Street and things to use it. So they're actually arguing for the opposite, saying, no. In order for these big players to utilize crypto and tokenize assets and do more things, it actually has to have the privacy because of the, all these, let's face it, it's a, you don't want to send a transaction and somebody sees everything that's in your wallet. So it's interesting where this is going to go, but we just have to, as the community in general, just keep up the pressure. And like, this isn't something we're letting up with. We need this privacy. And there's a reason I love silver. Lisa, I know you love silver. I know a lot of people that.
So do I.
Yep, a lot of people out there. We all love silver. Silver is private money. It's completely private, right? If I transfer silver to you, it's a private, and you give me goods for it, it's a private transaction. Problem is, silver doesn't work for transacting in the digital age in which we live. This is my beef with the precious metals community, that they hate crypto so much. It's like, well, I don't mind if somebody says they hate crypto, but give me your solution. And I've never heard anybody give me a solution. What they usually come out with is say, oh, well, we'll give you a Visa card that you could spend your gold and silver in the future.
Right.
And it's like,
well, really, they're wish casting for the apocalypse is what they're doing. They want civilization to end and the question to become irrelevant about transfer of value.
Well, the thing is, too, it's like they're arguing for that. It's like, that's almost like the Bitcoin maximalists that were like, don't spend your Bitcoin, this and that. Spend Visa, send me a bank wire. That's better than spending or sending me, don't send me Litecoin. We hate that. So it's like, that's my big beef with the precious metals community. It's like, you have no solution. Your solution's a Visa card. Now we're right back to square one. I don't mind that as an as an option for people, but give us other options that give us privacy and freedom. If that's our only option, then the bad guys are going to close the walls in on us and make it worse for us. You got to realize even the people that love the banks and love all the legacy financial stuff, they should love crypto because we're putting pressure on the legacy system to treat us better. If there's no competition, you don't have to give a good service. Let's face it.
Exit gives force to the value proposition.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. We have a lot of questions to go through, and there is a law, a regulation, a policy, a voted in proposal that made into law on World Blockchain Roundtable was that if there are more than 4 people, then we have to invoke the timer. So this next question, we're going to put you on the spot, Johnny. This is for you. I'm going to reset the timer after I read it. But since we have a lot of questions, a large panel will have to be quick. So it's more rapid fire, shall we say. So the question, and by the way, this is just a joke. Satoshi Nakamoto was a Fed. Some say yes, some say no. Question, would revealing the true identity of Satoshi Nakamoto constitute a violation of their right to privacy? What potential impacts could such a revelation have on Bitcoin, other blockchain projects, and the broader community of developers? So, Johnny, what say you?
I think it would have a big impact. I don't think we'll ever find out who the real Satoshi is. And if we do, it's definitely not the person that they're going to tell us that it is. So let's just put that right out there. I think a lot of us kind of know who it was. A lot of people think, hey, it was the good guys, and then it kind of got corrupted by the bad guys, but it was started out with good intentions of this peer-to-peer electronic cash. I think it would have a huge impact. I think it's better that Satoshi's not known. Let's keep them private. But that does give a question mark around Bitcoin in general, that people's put their head in the sand, that there is these million Bitcoins floating around in these Satoshi wallets. So I think it's best they stay anonymous.
Good point. All right, Sean, we're just going to start from the bottom and work our way up. 60 seconds. What say you, Sean?
That's tough, man. Because you should have the freedom to try and find out who it is. But that's a really tough question. Because you have to look at both sides. Like, I want to know who Satoshi is. You want to know. If I find out and I don't tell you, you're going to get hurt. You're going to be like, Sean, why don't you tell me? So, but I don't know. I would, nah. No. He put it out there. He created it. He gave it to the world. You know what I mean? He put himself into that. I don't think it would be a violation.
Okay. Good. All right, Greg. Again, it's going to go Greg, Lisa, Andrew, and then myself, and I will finish out with the correct and
impact
only
would be very bad for him.
I would say that's going to depend on the point of view of the Sorry, I'm going to start over. Can I clear my time?
Yeah.
It's going to depend on the privacy wishes of the person who holds the right to it, right? So does Satoshi want to be found, or does Satoshi not want to be found? The question mark is open. Did he just wish a mystery so that people would look? Or did he wish that nobody ever found him, right? We don't know. We aren't him. But what we do know is that he's already breached his privacy to some extent by communicating a pseudonym, right? That's an identifier. It's just not a very clear one. It doesn't hook you into meat space with him. And if he meant for those two things to be separate, then yes, it would be. But if he intended for us to find him so that he could then be revealed, and it was just like an ARG meant to draw attention to his new toy, then we're serving him by trying to break his privacy, right? So it's an unknown and probably an unknowable, because he's most likely not around anymore.
Great points. Lisa, what do you think?
So the first part of the question is to Greg's point. If it was his wish to be revealed, then yes, it would violate his rights. If it wasn't, then no. So to the second part of what kind of impacts, then it wouldn't have all the decentralization part of it. Right now, there is a feeling of decentralization. There's still the Satoshi wallet sitting there allegedly untouched. And so people have that feeling of decentralization. If they thought they knew who was holding it, then that wallet itself is very centralized, and I think could cause a lot of damage to Bitcoin itself. So
good
answer.
All right, Andrew, what say you, sir?
Okay, I'm going to turn this question on its head a little bit. Everyone knows who the president of the United States is, right? Does it really matter who the? I know if you think, oh yeah, it really matters. Should it matter? Should it matter who the president of the United States is? Should we care about their opinion, or should we be stuck listening to what they're saying? Okay, take that. If you think that it doesn't really matter, or that maybe you should just take their opinion into advisement, there's a difference between that and, we have to know exactly who this person is. We have to have a stethoscope up their rectum and know everything about them. You have to have privacy. It shouldn't matter. It's advisement. It's not mandatory. If they wanted privacy, they would have had privacy. They need privacy. It's a natural right.
Good point. Oh, wow. Look at that. Right on the mark, too. Right on the money. Well done. Okay. So I'll start the timer. Yes, if Satoshi Nakamoto wanted to remain private, I think it would be a violation of his privacy. What potential impacts? Obviously, to the market and the price of, say, Bitcoin, it could be huge because of that untapped wallet. However, it would also depend upon that person's reputation. If he was a highly revered person who many people looked up to and admired and considered him to be a hero, and that's who we found out who the real Satoshi was, then it would be a good thing probably and a positive thing for the market. In reverse, if we found out if it was truly the feds or someone in the underworld, whatever, a human trafficker or something like that, then it would be horrible. But most important, the real answer is the devs, the developers. If they wish to remain private, they should have that privacy. Example, those who have created the mixers and the privacy coins, let them stay private. All right. How about that? Let's move on to the next one. And thanks everybody for preventing or holding back the desire to interrupt someone else, because we all have really good thoughts and good ideas, and we all come from various backgrounds and various industries, as well as a lot of experience to offer as panelists. So I appreciate everyone sticking to the
sure thing, man. I'm venting my excited utterances into the chat instead.
Oh, nice. Well, I like that. I'll try to pull them up as well. All right. I guess I will go first on this one. This question is, government is creating a global financial dragnet. We're witnessing the birth of modern tax revolt. So will this increase the use of privacy cryptocurrencies? I can't speak. Privacy coins, self-custody, and decentralized platforms are not an active resistance against the state, or are they? I guess that's poorly written. My apologies. Whoops. So I guess the issue is here, as people start seeing the corruption in government institutions and financial, corruption and waste and fraud and abuse, they lose trust in their government, and they want transparency, right, on their government, so that these things can be spotted, detected early, and and accountability, and people can be held accountable, thrown in jail, prison, whatever. Unfortunately, those things don't happen as often as we'd like. And so yes, people, I think, will be the growth of a tax revolt seems to be growing in this country and other countries because of the distrust in government. And they will move towards privacy coins. And maybe that's part of the flippening of Monero surpassing Bitcoin Cash. By the way, Bitcoin Cash added text transmissions or transactions via text. Interesting. All right, Andrew, what say you?
I mean, I can go back in history and look at the USSR and how they would go through everybody's mail, and they had just spent decades and decades of trying to minimize risks. We don't care about the future. We need to make sure that nobody's here trying to there's not a conspiracy to take us down. And at the end of the day, they had to capitulate and give up because they didn't have enough money to just acknowledge the fact that sometimes you can't control life. And that's my answer, is that they keep trying, and people are just going to have to jump ship and go to privacy coins eventually, because it's how it is.
Good. All right. Wow. You under a minute, Andrew. Impressive, sir, and a great answer. Lisa, what say you?
I think we're all kind of on the same page with this. I think once again, people are going to choose what tool. And as of course, Satoshi came out with Bitcoin as an option when the banks were failing in 2008, when they saw what was happening to we the people, the little guy, when they didn't have an exit ramp. And Litecoin is one of the largest or one of the most used cryptocurrencies. I think it was like 60 million transactions or something just in 2025. And now with a privacy option or a public option, to use that both ways. So I think we the people will start picking up other tools. But we have to make the choice ourselves.
Good. All right, Greg.
So I think the key here is that what we're seeing is really just a general revolt, right? And we've been seeing it for a long time. Power has become toxic. Our institutions, which can work for good, right? If they're widening the possible futures we can reach, right? If we can get to more places because of the things that they facilitate, open up and make sense of, then they're working right. But if they've become a thing that's just there to protect their ability to rule, then they start closing off those futures with the way they interpret risk. And that's exactly what we're seeing here, is like they're afraid so badly of a tax revolt that they're putting in place things that are forcing a tax revolt. That's the irony to me here. And that's what I would say.
Yeah. Wow, excellent. Okay, Sean.
First off, I don't think we're in some kind of modern tax revolt. We're actually, with Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people, we're talking about it like an old-fashioned tax revolt, which is interesting because the further we move forward technologically, it seems like we always fall back on analog systems, whether it's precious metals or voting and with paper ballots, or it's because certain things, cash, certain things are just worked. They've always worked and they'll work. But I think everyone is kind of like just fed up. Privacy coins are dangerous. They should be illegal. But if a group in Congress got enough people and they passed a law where taxes could only be paid in Monero, it would be fine. They would make that work. They would do that. So I think people are just fed up. And they're not, it's always been silly, because you can ask a person, do you trust the government? No, they're terrible. You could go down a list of things. Do you think they should be the only ones that have guns? Yeah. It's like, they don't, it's because of conditioning. When you just lay it out there, it's very obvious that it's brainwashing and conditioning. But I think even like those people are kind of waking up to how stupid government is, and just, not that it's nefarious, we've went that route, but they're so incompetent that you can't trust them. Not that they're evil, which you go through all that, but it's much easier. Wow, they're dumb. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Sean. All right, Johnny, again, we appreciate you being here and joining us today. What's your comments on this question?
I don't really think the tax revolt has anything to do with maybe increasing the use of the privacy cryptocurrencies. Remember, you're taxed or you're given tax paperwork when you play in the vampire casino. If you pay with Monero in the vampire casino, you're still going to be issued tax paperwork. Doesn't matter if it's a privacy coin or not. So I don't really view that as the reason for people wanting privacy. And I also don't really view like self-custody or a decentralized platform necessarily as a resistance or an act against the state. I think it's more us, wanting to take self-sovereignty, self-control, not wanting to be exposed to hacks. There's a lot of fraud and hacking going on. That's the reason for self-custody, not necessarily an act against the state. I think wanting a decentralized platform to work is more or less, give the power back to the people. You can look at it as a business. You put money into a DeFi platform, you're a business. Now you become the Coinbase. You're making the money. Why let them make the money when you can make those trading fees? So I don't necessarily look at that as an act against the state, personally.
All right, good points. Real quick on the comments. My apologies, I'm not doing well here. Wow, Greg, you're just pounding the comments here.
This is why I'm not so jittery today.
Typing.
I can go way back here. Hey, a shout out to the Great Gazoo. He's always hilarious and fun. You need gold and silver to mine BTC. Crypto and metals are family fighting.
That's good.
Yeah. And Greg, you said you don't pray to the Jesus nut. You inspect it for cracks. Money is the information tool, and metals are too. The cool thing about metals and crypto is that they both can't be altered by fiat. Boy, isn't that true?
Well, are you guys familiar with what a Jesus nut is? I mean, like in the literal sense. So it's actually the ring that keeps the helicopter blade on the helicopter.
Yes. That's what I'd forgotten that.
Yeah. It was just a way to point out the category error they're making.
Holding you in the sky. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to our next question here as I pull it up. And Lisa, I don't think you've gone first yet, so this is on you.
Oh, great. Quantum computing. My
yes.
Perfect.
It's the luck of the draw. Perfect. Question. Just plug into your mind and your brain into the AI and spit out an answer. Question is, as quantum computing advances, poses harvest now, decrypt later, risk to blockchain privacy, example, exposing historical transactions. How urgently must the industry migrate to post-quantum cryptography to safeguard the human right to financial privacy? Wow. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Once again, I am not the expert on quantum computing. I would think that that blockchain or crypto would keep up with this, and that that it's going to, the industry will keep up with the quantum computing. So I'm not too concerned about it.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add there?
No.
Okay. All right, Greg.
All right. So I'm going to say with some confidence and no small degree of confidence that quantum computing as it is currently progressing is on a dead end track. It is going nowhere, and the exact type of insight that they're going to need to be able to make in order to get it there is kind of written about, actually. So people should go check out my Substack and look for an article called The Clockless Universe. I use a tool called Q-tip to decompose the error they're making, and the institutional leap required for them to fix it is going to be impossible, because what they will have to do is accept that global monolithic clocks break local coordination. And that is not something they're keen to do, because that actually has implications for bureaucracy and control theory, right? They actually can't control it the way they want. So in order to build it, they can't use it like they want. And they're going to have to change what they mean by quantum computing before they can get any progress at all. We don't have a worry there. It's a ghost.
I'm going to skip it around. I'm going to go next, actually. And first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody who's watching us live. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and all that good stuff. You know, I think the interesting comment or part of this question was exposing historical transactions. If that were possible, either AI breaks the encryption or quantum computing breaks the encryption, I think that would pose a very interesting problem for us to solve. Because now historical transactions would be able to be tracked, traced back, blockchain analysis, etc. So I think that's one of the points. The other thing I was just going to say is, if that ability advances, well, so can the cryptography advance as well. And that's all I wanted to say about that. How about you, Johnny Litecoin? How would you answer this?
I'm not. It's not something I'm an expert on or know a whole hell of a lot about. I'm kind of with Lisa. I feel like if it does become a threat, that it'll be addressed. I think it's something that it should at least be on everybody's radar where we're not panicked about it, but it is at least something that, hey, if it does become a threat, does your blockchain have a plan to become quantum resistant? I think that would be important. To the best of my knowledge, some people were saying, hey, Litecoin MWeb is quantum resistant. I just heard it has the infrastructure to become quantum resistant, but it's not quantum resistant yet. This could just be FUD, all this quantum stuff too, and a scare tactic to shake us out of our bags or to get us to sell. So, is this the bad guys putting this info out there? Definitely could be. So it's something that, hey, have it in the back of your mind, but it's not something I would be paranoid about, or I wouldn't not engage and interact with crypto because quantum could be an issue 10 or 15 years from now.
Good one. All right, I'm going to skip around here. Andrew, put your quantum computer hat on. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think, it's kind of in transition right now with quantum computing. It's something they're working towards, but their financial stability is going to, it won't survive as long as the project of quantum computing itself will be. So like USSR capitulated, I think it's pretty comfortable for a lot of people to say the United States government will at some point capitulate and, retract. Mm-hmm. And so even though the quantum computing is still in process, they won't be able to use it in a way that they think they will. But at the same time, I think people that are in development right now are learning the mistakes and this and that they can future-proof, or to a degree future-proof crypto usage as a reflective way to protect the chain as it goes and grows.
Good. All right, Sean, I need you to step away from your quantum computer and answer the damn question.
I think it's kind of like Lisa and Johnny said, but to put a finer point on it, if there's money to be made, it's going to be worked on and fixed. There'll be projects that'll come about to fix it. But then what Johnny said, he used that term 15 years, which I don't know about y'all, but the past 10 years, it's been a dream. It's been fake. And then it's been 20, and then there's people that say it's technically here. Who do you trust? Does this government have it, or you don't know who's working on it in secrecy, or really how far they've come. So that's the thing, that time frame is that we really don't know how close we are to having quantum. We have quantum-like stuff, and it's mind blowing when you look at actually how quantum computing works. It is like magic. It's like another, things don't really exist. It's mind bending, at least. So I do think it will be addressed as it needs to be.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're all on the same page with that one. That the industry will adapt and change to handle that. Shall we say, encryption attack, even if it is going to happen or not going to happen. Like Greg mentioned too, I think there's a lot of question about quantum computing becoming actually even relevant or possible. And I'm one of those early technologists that I'm big on technology and adapting new things, and I have some serious doubts, but that just could come from ignorance as well. But
I think you're right. I think it's a category error. I think quantum computing is sort of like confusing the territory for the map and then building a computer for the map.
Yes. And what did you mean by disease consuming our institutions?
That was a continuation of the last one. They keep breaking my long thoughts up into little chunks that don't make sense. So that one's to be read with the last one you showed. Gotcha. The whole thing about conflating hypothetical futures where some of them are bad versus identifying an actual threat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you're right. Privacy isn't the real threat. It's just a horizon at which most legible part of the machine readable layer terminates.
What would a computer do with a lifetime supply of chocolate?
Exactly.
Well, Johnny did a video. I guess it was around Christmas, and he talked about he was buying a gift for a loved one, and he said, what if you have a shared account with your spouse or significant other, and you want to buy a gift? This is where privacy is not always a nefarious reasons. Privacy can be for something as wonderful as buying your loved one a gift that you don't want them to know about, and so that's where it's just they want to put this spin around it and for things like, so that they can shove things like the Patriot Act down our throat. We're here from the government. We're here to help, to protect us. We're here to keep you safe, all these things, and not treat us like adults. This is the thing. We can make these choices for ourselves. We can keep ourselves safe. But we have to choose these things,
right?
And there's all these tools out there. Once again, I really believe that if we would see money and these tools as messaging systems and look at it as putting our weight or our voice and using them as messaging systems, if we could change the way we think about money, it would really free us all.
Amen.
Yeah, agreed.
Johnny, I kudos to you, because I remember that video where you're shopping at the mall and you got your bag there, and you mentioned the birthday gift for your wife, and you have a shared bank account and you want a privacy transaction so you can surprise your wife with a gift. It was just a perfect example, and I've used that, I think, even on the show weeks ago, that example. It was just beautiful. Well done, sir.
It just popped. I was shopping and I said, well, they're trying to take cash away. That's pretty obvious with all these measures, getting rid of the penny. Pretty soon they'll get rid of the nickel. Now saying, hey, every transaction should be tracked over $200. They'll keep coming up with ways to claw this cash away from us, which is why I say we need digital solutions that work for us. We need digital cash that works for us. This isn't going anywhere. You're not going to take smartphones and all this stuff away from people. But I was like, how do you actually buy a gift? You just get rid of Christmas shopping and birthday and all that. I mean, if you think about it, you surprise your spouse with a gift. It's like, oh, hey, I've been socking away a little bit of cash, and I bought you that thing that you've been wanting or you've been talking about. And they're like, oh my God, the purpose of a gift is the surprise.
Right.
And if you only have a shareable account, there's no cash, there's no privacy coin or anything, then it's like your spouse will be like, they might, 5 minutes after you buy, it's like, oh, hey, I was on your account. I saw you bought me something at so-and-so.
Yeah. Good.
You already know what it is. So we need to keep hammering the solutions down people's throats that are for the things like gifts, just the regular things that normies will experience, and really hammer that down their throat. And I also love the example of, would you walk around with your bank statement on your shirt? No, you wouldn't. People guard their bank statements like no other. And I said, well, why would you want any other expectation for a cryptocurrency? It does not make any sense.
Yeah. All right. Next question. What role do decentralized finance, DeFi platforms play in advocating for financial privacy against increasing regulatory scrutiny in 2026? Who would like to go first on this one? Anybody?
I guess I'll go.
Okay, go for it, Andrew.
I mean, decentralized financial platforms, they play a role in the fact that, it's another cat and mouse game for the government to come down and try to regulate, for them to spend their money and devalue the currency and, upset the general population and force their hand to have to, at some point capitulate. At some point, something else is going to come by that's going to be better than DeFi, and they're going to have to go and try to regulate that away because they say, oh yeah, hey, that's our job. We're here to protect you. Meanwhile, they're getting money on the back end somehow, making, backroom deals with people. And it's just a never-ending revolving door, fulfilling cycle of we're just shooting ourselves in the foot, and they're not gonna win long term. It's a losing strategy every time.
Whack-a-mole.
I think it's one of the most important things. Period. I don't think we've in human history there hasn't been many points like this when they created insurance in England, hundreds of years ago, when they set up, banking, when these are big, huge milestones. And we're here at DeFi. It's a milestone. And it's one of the worst times when it comes to government overreach and control and using finance to control people. But back hundreds of years ago, they didn't think or worry that, these things would be possible. Whereas now we know what is possible. We know how much control you can take away from someone and how much power a nefarious government or entity can get just from the company store alone. You looking at that form of money, and the control on how people had to live. So I think it's really important because they are advocating and building this new finance, which we're going to be. It's kind of, I think, digital and DeFi kind of go, hand in hand. I think it's going to be. I don't know if DeFi will completely take over, but it's definitely going to be a big part when it comes to digital finance.
Yeah. Greg, you tackle this one too. What role will decentralized finance play?
I think DeFi platforms are actually kind of hamstrung right now, actually, because what we don't have yet is the infrastructure layer. Like, if you think about the whole stack from top to bottom, DeFi right now sits on top of AWS and sits on top of the IP routing system as it's currently controlled, and sits across the internet backbone as it's currently controlled. We don't own any of those things except for the DeFi layer, right? That's where you own yourself. But it only works so far as you aren't a threat worth spending extra money on, right? Like Parler became, where they went after Amazon and took it down, right? If a DeFi platform gets too adversarial, gets too dangerous to power, then those weak spots have to be plugged too. So I think DeFi can't really do anything for us until we have DePIN.
Great point. Outstanding point. I'll go ahead and go next too on this. That internal infrastructure, that the behind the scenes machine has to be broken up and decentralized as well. And I don't know if Filecoin can do that, job, or part of it maybe, but that is so accurate. And that is kind of our Achilles heel in a lot of our projects when we're using, AWS and that kind of thing, if it becomes a target of the government, because it's going to be easy to shut down. But I do think that, these DEX out there, these decentralized exchanges, are like whack-a-mole. They can be set up real quickly. A lot of them are open source, and becomes whack-a-mole, and being able to move and transact, shall we say, by exchanging and buying other or selling your crypto into another one. So they play a big role, and I think in 2026 we're going to see more governments come after them. Johnny, how about you? What do you think about this?
I think they're incredibly important. It makes, it really makes crypto more censorship resistant. Greg made a great point, though. You're right. Only as censorship resistant as they don't take it down from AWS or take it out of the App Store or the Google Play Store. But putting that aside, just on its face, it makes cryptos not, your blockchain is censorship resistant if you're transacting on that. We need to have interoperability. We need all hands on deck to beat the bad guys. We need all the blockchains to work together. I love Litecoin. It's my favorite coin. I'm not a Litecoin maxi. I think a great use case of Litecoin is, hey, it's easy to swap into something else. It has pretty good liquidity. I love the idea of people say, oh, they swapped out of Litecoin. I'm like, great. That was a great use for it. You swap out of money. You swap out of cash you use. You swap it and you trade it for something else. That's the point of money. Money's a tool. So I'm a huge fan of DeFi, decentralized exchanges, and also think it gives all of us a business opportunity. Don't sell your crypto. Earn cash flow from it. What's better than that? And you're getting paid in crypto in a peer-to-peer manner. So I love DeFi. I think it's really important, but we do definitely have to address what Greg said. We have to button all that up. If not, it's only going to be as good as till we piss somebody off bad enough and they say, hey, take that down from AWS. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's actually, Johnny, that I want to make that point clear, because I'm not a black pilled on DeFi guy. I think it's really valuable. I just don't think they're going to make good advocates if they don't have a firm ground to stand on.
Yep, absolutely.
Lisa, what's your thoughts?
So I think the role that they play is that they've got to come together and make sure that regulatory bodies understand that they aren't playing in their playground, that they're outside of their systems and they don't have authority over them. That's like another country coming in and trying to regulate, it's like the US trying to regulate North Korea. They have to understand that they don't have authority in DeFi. I think that's where, but the people that use DeFi have to come together. Like Johnny's saying, like crypto has to come together. We can't be maxis. We have to say, this world operates outside that system.
Well, and just because like you said, just because some people that use DeFi might be from North Korea using it for state advantage over other states like ours, doesn't mean that the whole thing is per se has to be treated like that, right?
Right. Think of how the Amish operate. Yeah. I mean, they didn't get jabs because they operate outside the U.S.
Yeah, because of the religious thing. That's what I was saying, is like that religious exemption was set up like way back to the founding of the country. That's the point we're at now, where DeFi, when it comes to the question was, for privacy with the government, what do they do? It's so important because that's being set up right now.
Well, maybe Greg's point of the Jesus nut becomes the DeFi Jesus nut.
Which
maybe the DeFi nut.
I think that if the only thing that is bigger and can control AWS and Amazon or Azure is the government law, and that needs to protect people's privacy freedom, and DeFi. So that's the only thing that can stop ADA and building parallel systems. If they built a mesh system, imagine that. Imagine a worldwide mesh system for crypto. And then Johnny's comment for interoperability, a worldwide mesh system that was totally interoperable, like a space chain, tiny little satellites.
Isn't that what Elon's doing?
I was saying before Elon even was doing it, they had these little satellites that are built like cell phones, where you can just put a program and an app goes on, where it doesn't affect the whole satellite. It can't infect anything else. It's just in an app in the satellite, and they cost like nothing.
Right. So when they sell them to schools too, like it's for science classes. Those are neat. I remember those.
So it's I mean, we're at the cusp of parallel systems, but when it comes to like I said, they're really important because they're forging the rules of the game and the rules for us when it comes to this for down the road, so we can be like the Amish.
Well, I think we're already really there. I mean, yesterday there was a huge outage for Verizon. I don't know, 40% of the US or something, and everybody's phone went to SOS because there's already satellite service available on the majority of your phones. So I mean, most likely we're already there. We just need that tipping point to force us to, hard times make for strong men, or whatever the saying is. So things might have to get really difficult and really hard for us to choose to quit choosing the lazy option and choosing government money.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see.
And free men don't ask for permission, and that these decentralized exchanges are an end around.
Yeah.
Next item, our next question here. I put this quote up. It's kind of interesting. If the people cannot trust their government to do the job for which it exists, to protect them and to promote their common welfare, all else is lost. Barack Obama. Then Thomas Jefferson said, "The spirit of resistance to government is so valuable and certain occasions that I wish it to always be kept alive." And isn't that so true? So that brings up this question. Now it's time to complain and talk smack about your government. Why are governments increasingly targeting privacy-focused blockchain applications and their developers through regulatory actions? And what does this reveal about the tension between state oversight and the fundamental right to financial privacy? Who would like to talk smack about their government first? Oh, we got no takers to go first.
Well, I went first last time, so I figured I'd wait.
I will always go first, and I love going
governments
first.
Are targeting privacy blockchains and coins because it's obvious. It's something that they can't control, is more difficult to control, and just gives people more power and authority, which they don't like. And the tension's been there. It's gotten worse. I think what's very interesting is I think we really need to learn what America was supposed to be. It really wasn't supposed to be a country. It was supposed to be a union, a lot like the EU, free travel, free trade, that kind of thing. But each state very different, and they were supposed to be like countries. And a country was always called the state or your state. That was it. And we're seeing so much, especially with Minnesota and California, Texas, so much division when it comes to state versus federal. And it's the federal needs to be less. It needs to worry about outside, and then, I mean, it sounds, and that's where the argument is, because it can be ridiculous. And I've had to kind of work on this the past few months. Is fine, you want to have a socialist mayor, have a socialist mayor. I don't live there. that's your business. Minnesota, you're doing whatever, that's your business. But when it takes my, federal money, okay, I can care. But we have to back off of other states, my opinion, and give those states their sovereignty, but also, and they need to give us the right for them to fail, for them to have their consequences, and to not have us bail them out, because that's where it all gets. Because the federal government got so big to where we're all in bed together, and now your bad decisions affect me, and that's what wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be, hey, New Hampshire, you do whatever you want, but if you screw up, it's on you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Who else would like to complain about their government in respect to this question?
I'll do some complaining.
Okay.
It's because what I was talking about when I was at that conference in DC, these people want to be able to control us. They're in there because they want the power. It's not that they're not servants of the people. They're not civil servants. These are freaking lunatics and maniacs. They want to control us. These are sick people. And they put a lot of misinformation out there. They always use the word money laundering with crypto. I say money laundering. It's not. This is not money. Using crypto is not. It's not a money laundering threat that they're worried about. They throw that word around there. It's that they can't do a civil asset forfeiture as easy. It's really easy. If they charge you with the crime and your money's in your bank account, they freeze your assets. They want to have that power to be able to freeze your assets. Now you cannot defend yourself. It's not innocent until proven guilty anymore. It's guilty until proven innocent. Because if you don't have the funds available to hire a lawyer, how are you going to be able to defend yourself? And they throw this money laundering thing out there. Money laundering, real simple. If you've seen the movie Scarface, that famous scene, they have over $1 million in cash. He said he found it in a taxi cab, right? And then the guy goes, "Where does this money go anyways, Tony?" He says, "It goes to the Montana Realty Company," right? Make the check out to them because the idea of money laundering and the purpose is to bring the money into the regular financial system. Crypto privacy coins, you built your own system outside of the system they use. You exited it's the opposite of money laundering. It's just freedom and using currency peer to peer. So I hate when they throw this money laundering thing out there. So
yes. Demonization. Who would like to complain next?
I mean, governments are middle managers, right? They gotta be able to pass muster who's the trusted actor and who isn't. So there's only a small percentage of the population who they can absolutely guarantee trust, and there's never going to be a mistake, and that's a sign of narcissism. That's the component of middle management, is that you're going to have a managed amount of success, and we got the best and the brightest. I mean, how many times have we heard that up in Washington? And they were like, "We're gonna get the best. We're gonna be successful, and we're gonna make it. We're gonna." There's no forward thinking in that. That the only way that they're thinking is the fact that they're gonna have people that they know who they can trust, who can make money on the side, and they go retire early, and they'll join them shortly after that. And that's what government is. It's just a scam. It always has been, always will be.
Right. I'll go next as a complainer about our government in this question. Human frailty is we have this thing called greed that seems to grow within us and take over, and we make unethical choices, and we trample over other people's rights. We inflict ugly, pain and suffering on the people when we rise to power because of that lust for greed and that lust for power and control. And that's exactly what government has become and always will be. And it needs to be made irrelevant in our lives. It needs to be brought down and closer to the people, so that we have the power and control of our own selves and our own lives and our privacy and our transactions, and being able to have the ability and the choice to work and support alternate parallel systems, alternate parallel networks, and and have the ability to support and vote with our wallet to support parallel systems, so that the ugliness and the evils that government inflicts on its citizens and its people, without regard to their well-being, it's not working in our best interest. That's what I like about crypto. It is the Satoshi's white paper was just that. It was another shot heard around the world, and it provided us a whole new way of thinking, that we can have a form of currency that's programmable and has a cap supply and can be transacted peer to peer, and we don't need to have money rooted and developed and created and printed into oblivion from the government. It doesn't need to be in the government's hands and control. I'm sorry, I ranted way too long, but the evils of government are upon us. We have to stop it.
Yeah, I understand your passion for this. So we recently moved to another state, and I can tell you that the realities of having to transition to another state and face kind of like, when you grow up somewhere and you turn 16. And so you're so excited what do? Get a license. Things you're excited to do to opt into the system that, when you're born, your parents get you a birth certificate. You don't even realize the state has set up systems and points in your life that you're excited to. You open a business. What do you have to do? Get an EIN number. All these points in the system that you opt into actually are forms of human trafficking, and even to the point of using US dollars and the banking system may be one of the biggest forms of human trafficking, because it takes human energy and tracks it and takes it out of our control. And it's forced into a system where it's then printed up overnight and devalued while we sleep. There's choices made with it that we don't have any say of. And so I would say that that's why the options of where we could put our energy, we could put human energy and other privacy things where we have a say of what happens with our energy, with our human energy. That's why those are being targeted, because I believe that the Fed note is one of the largest forms of human trafficking.
Amen. I agree.
Because they want us to own nothing.
That's a totally fair frame, Lisa. I think that's exactly right.
Greg, your last.
Okay, so the point that I want to make is that what we're seeing isn't rational governance playing out like we intended it. What we're seeing is a fear response from people who detect a visceral undercurrent in the path that the world line we're all on, right? Privacy coins are already in existence. They're already open source software. They already exist, and they can't make them go away by any art they now possess, right? They haven't quite realized that yet, and that's why they're trying this. And the reason that they probably haven't realized it is because they're blinded by fear, and they're right to be blind by fear, because enough human beings resolve to listen to Etienne Laboetti and resolve to no longer serve, to no longer help by providing arms and legs and tools and provisions to the men who beat them and oppress them, right? The second that stops with crypto, there's nothing they can do. They don't want jail cells full of people because they wrote a tax code. They want tax money, right? They want that funding. The jails themselves run on that, right? So they can't jail you into relinquishing your cash. They've got a big problem, right? They need to scare everybody. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to scare people from a thing that already happened that they can no longer stop. And when they realize they can no longer stop it, they'll stop trying, or they'll have already destroyed themselves by wasting resources trying to change a reality that no longer responds to them. And I think that's the biggest problem is it's lost salience to reality in a way that they're amnesic to.
Yeah. Great. Outstanding. Well, that completes our questions. And there's a couple of comments here I wanted to bring up back on. Radar NJ says, use cash as much as possible. Carry a silver eagle in your pocket as a reminder. And that is true.
And a desert eagle in the other.
Stop cash. This is just another form of defiance, if you will. Civil disobedience is to transact in cash. If you're not transacting in, precious metals or in crypto, it's just another form of trying to protect and maintain cash to some degree, rather than debit cards and credit cards that can be turned off at the click of a mouse.
The other advantage of using cash is that cash is more valuable than the dollar, and its cash is going to become a lot more valuable than the dollar. And what I mean, people say, well, cash is the dollar. No, it's not. The dollar what I mean is the digital dollar in your bank account versus physical cash. Already, if you go to a business, they charge you 3.5% to 4% less on average if you use cash, because you don't have to pay the credit card fee.
The fee.
It's on virtually every receipt. It's itemized in different ways to do mental gymnastics to get around Visa's compliance. But here and there, you are paying it. You go to buy precious metals right now. If you pay with a credit card or PayPal, you pay the highest fee. Go to AppMax, JM Bullion, any of those guys. And it's only going to get greater as we have banking hiccups and systematic hiccups, which is only going to get worse and worse. Now, let's not even take the nefarious side of things, just in general. These everything's going to the cloud. The data centers can't handle all this cloud activity. Stuff is going to keep going down at a more alarming pace. We saw a big outage yesterday at Verizon, right? Was that cloud-based or based on cloud-based infrastructure outage? I don't know. But either way, you're going to see physical cash have a lot more value than the actual dollar.
Well, I think also it's part of just regular people understanding, and I don't know who it was. I think it was Andrew Tate who was talking about cash, and he said, the reason I like cash versus digital money is because cash is real. But if I do a job or I do something and I earn $100 bill, and then I go and I spend that and I buy something, I give that guy money, he has $100, and then if he goes and buys something or pays a bill, those people have $100. It's $100. He said, if I have a debit card, like Johnny said, it's 3%. Now it's 97. Then when that guy pays something, now it's 90, 92. Then it goes to, into the 80. Eventually, that $100 will be gone.
Will be gone. Yeah.
Wiped out, because of those 3.5%, percent. Even if it was 1%, even if it was 0.5%, it's going to eventually
eviscerate.
It's gone. The $100 will no longer exist. And that's something like everyone can understand. It's like, oh yeah, that is, where's that going? It's just, it's stealing my money.
I think a cool future would be if we had physical notes that had QR codes on them. So when you go to pay for something, the business, you could pay with your certificate or whatever, and they would swipe, kind of like sweep the wallet like a paper crypto wallet. They sweep the private key. They could basically rip up that certificate if they want, but they still have the representation of it. And then if they wanted to, they can go to whatever type of institution or whatever they were still using. Because let's face it, most people are still going to play in that centralized casino in the future. But then they could say they can go withdraw from an ATM certificates that because they have the digital ownership of it behind the scenes. I think we need to marry the digital and the physical together rather than keep looking at them. as such opposites. Let's marry them together like how a paper wallet would be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, like a wallet that carries a physical representation of the amount that's in it that you can carry in hand like a chip. Right.
Yep. A bearer asset.
Yeah.
There's
and probably a bearer asset that only exchanges for certain digital assets, so that there's a very careful funnel from physical to digital. It doesn't have an interception path. That's a good point.
Since we've finished our questions and it's perfect timing for today's theme, I wanted to bring up. I'd invite Aaron Day has been on the show numerous times, and my apologies. I forgot to invite him sooner to today's show. But he had a post yesterday. The day before yesterday, regarding the most recent legislation, and I'm just going to read it here real quick for the audience because I thought it was very good. It says every crypto bro cheering this bill is either on Coinbase's payroll or can't read. I read all 278 pages. You're getting played. I've been in crypto since 2012. That's 14 years of watching governments pretend to be confused while quietly building the cage. Trump promised to make America the crypto capital of the world. His party just delivered a surveillance framework that will make the CCP blush. Aaron Day writes in his opinion, today I'm launching the Day 2026 bill tracker. It does one thing, exposes how both parties collaborate to build your digital prison while you cheer. First up, the Senate Digital Asset Market Structure Act. 278 pages of regulatory clarity from Senator Tim Scott. Translation, 278 pages of compliance theater that kills everything crypto was built for. Here's what your favorite influencers won't tell you because their bags depend on you not knowing. Mandatory trade surveillance. Every exchange must implement real-time monitoring. Every single transaction. The NSA called they want their playbook back. Universal registration. Exchanges, brokers, dealers, even associated persons must register. Anonymous participation, dead. Satoshi's vision, buried. Full disclosure to the state. Token issuers must hand over source code, transaction history, and tokenomics to regulators. Open source for thee, total transparency for me, says the government. Mandatory government custodians. Your coins must sit with approved custodians. Self-custody for regulated activity, effectively illegal. Not your keys, not your coins, just became federal policy. DeFi in the crosshairs. For the first time ever, developers face registration requirements. Building permissionless systems now requires permission. Let that sink in. Your data goes global. Transaction records flow to the SEC, CFTC, and foreign regulators. Your wallet activity shared with central banks worldwide. Bullish? Right. Who actually wins is almost over. Coinbase is the regulatory moat that buries competitors. You think Brian Armstrong is lobbying for your freedom? Think again. Chain analysis gets permitted for government transactions. Surveillance as a service funded by your tax dollars. BlackRock and Wall Street, they're winners. They get clear on-ramps while DeFi gets strangled in its crib. The SEC and the CFTC get expanded empires and fresh revenue streams. You get watched, tracked, controlled, but hey, number go up. It goes on, but senators got 48 hours to review 278 pages. Democrats asked for more time, denied. I just wanted to stop right there. it made my blood boil when I read this. And shout out to Aaron Day for this post, because he dives deep into this stuff. And
excellent,
what he's talking about.
Excellent tweet. But I will say, Coinbase did tweet out in frustration about it and did get it delayed. And now they're going back to the table. See, I don't view Coinbase and these companies as the enemy. They're providing a service to get fiat into crypto, and they have to adhere to the rules and laws that are set up. So, they're providing a service. I don't look at them as the enemy personally. I just think, hey, they're necessary for people to get. Until there's no fiat, then you don't need a Coinbase anymore, or a Gemini, or anything like that. So I don't look at those guys as the bad guys. I will credit Coinbase. At least they did push back. And because Coinbase pushed back, now it's going to back to the drawing board. So, but yeah, excellent info that they put out.
I'm gonna push back just a little bit. You're right, Johnny. They are providing us the service. They're providing a great on and off ramp between fiat and crypto. Unfortunately, we didn't do our job in beforehand to make sure that crypto could expand without those or easier on and off ramps. We didn't allow more employers or demand or suggest or require, if you want my labor, then you got to pay me in crypto, and encourage more companies to accept crypto for purchasing. And so we didn't.
Choke Point made that impossible.
We didn't do our hard work.
You made a great point before. You said we need to make what they do irrelevant, and it's like I always say, you're not gonna look. When it comes, I work in the regular financial system, doing point of sale system, credit card terminals, all that stuff. KYC is part of it. You have to do Hey, I'm not doing the KYC so I can go to jail. So somebody didn't do KYC. Make it irrelevant. Let's make it like rules for a typewriter. That's how we win. We win when we make this stuff irrelevant. It's like, no problem. You want your KYC that was forced on us by the Patriot Act? Guess what? It's irrelevant now. Yeah, we're fine with your KYC. We don't have to do it because we're doing something else that KYC is not applicable for. That's how we win. And you're 100% right. We didn't do our job as the crypto. There's too much infighting in the crypto community.
Tribalism. Mm-hmm.
Too much tribalism. I mean, what I set out to do years ago of helping businesses accept crypto for payment, I would have thought, gee, the crypto community is going to love what I'm doing. I'm providing a service. I'll set up any crypto. And I just got such pushback. And the pushback was from the crypto community. We're our own worst enemy. And if somebody asks me what do I hate about crypto the most, it's the people in crypto. I like the people that I like that are part of our little crew, Lisa. And for the most part, I hate the people in crypto. Yeah. They're idiots. They're not doing good. Look at the Bitcoin maximalists as the head of the snake, the head of the idiots, and it goes down from there.
Bunch of ciphers acting like lemmings.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree. But it's not over either. It's we're early still in this fight, but we have large battles ahead of us, and we
can't let them set the norm.
We outnumber them, and as the dollar devaluates even more, and other the euro and etc., all of these fiats are devaluating, and as people become more educated and start using alternatives, more and more people are starting to barter too or sell their own goods and have more garage sales and look at other ways of trying to make ends meet, more gig economy. And that makes it more ripe for people to embrace alternative means of exchange. And I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
So that's why
I try to stay white-pilled. It's very difficult.
That's why the precious metals people and the crypto people need to get along more. Like right now, silver's running up. So it's tempting to take some profits on silver, but into what? Do I want fiat and be back at square one? No. But I'll tell you what, I would, if somebody wanted to trade me right now some silver for Litecoin, I would do it. I love silver, but I think Litecoin's undervalued now compared to silver, but I don't want to sell silver for fiat. I don't knock anybody that had to pay some bills, live their life, and do some stuff. Great. You know what? You had to sell some silver. You waited on it for long enough. You needed to do some stuff, make some moves. Great. But if you're just saying, hey, I want to take some profit, I don't really need the cash. I have cash or money right now. Well, look into moving it into an asset that's where this peer-to-peer economy comes in. Hey, I have silver, you have Litecoin, let's swap. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to 277 people watching us right now. Thank you very much, everybody. Wherever you're watching us, make sure you follow them and click the like and subscribe and all that good. So 279.
So one point of strategy for all 279 plus 6 of us. I did a little experiment last week with X boosting, and I managed to get my account flagged by a pissed off bureaucrat for like about 2 hours. They took my promotion down. Did you guys know that $50 spend on X boost will actually not buy you a relative number of impressions? It buys you a specific number of impressions. That's a hard cap. So you boost to the whole country, you get the same amount as if you boost to a municipality. You can target DC. So I wrote this article called Operation Operation Goose Point, which was what's good for the goose is good for the gander, essentially arguing that mens rea ought to apply upward to people who are responsible for systems that analyze future risk and are responsible for avoiding it, right? Because that was essentially the case that Roman Storm and Keon Rodriguez were convicted and sentenced under, right? I put that $50 into DC and put the thing up around 11, which is roughly when staffers are reading and scrolling for their bosses, right? And for 3 days, it stayed up until I got flagged. It took them 4 days of live time, so 5 days after I got my ban undone, to finish my $50 campaign. And it was enough to piss off somebody in DC enough to flag me. If you got $50 and a chat bot, you can send them a message. Try it yourself.
$50 well spent.
In fact, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Guys, I gotta dip out.
Okay. Tell us where we can follow you and follow your work and what's new.
Yeah, just follow me on X now. I still call it Twitter at Johnny Litecoin. Come check me out. My DM's open. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them and try to give some Litecoin wallet support and just help people out. I always say no question's a dumb question. We're all at different levels in crypto. So if you have just a question, you say, I don't want to feel stupid. Don't ask me. Trust me, you're not going to feel stupid. Only reason I'm doing this, I've been there too. This stuff, you got to wrap your mind around it to learn it. So whatever you guys need help with, and I love what you guys are doing, promoting freedom and privacy. And I love this community. You guys' heads are all in the right place. So just keep up what you guys are doing. We are having an impact. And sometimes it gets discouraging. We see the bad guys, but we're in a war right now. So we're in a war for our freedom. And I'm not giving up, but I know you guys aren't giving up. And I definitely know Lisa's not giving up. Lisa is a freedom warrior. So, follow Lisa as well. And all you guys out there.
Johnny, we really appreciate it. We're honored that you joined our panel here today. Thank you very much.
That was a great
You're welcome
program.
to join us every Thursday anytime.
Appreciate it. Hopefully I can come back on soon and chat with you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.
Cheers.
By the way, while I got your attention, I believe next week's show is Deep Dive. Again.
Oh, perfect.
So
Yes.
that's
the piece of the stack that will save the world.
It got 11,672 votes, and I think it was third for our list. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not reading it correctly here, I could be wrong, but it looks like that's what it is. My apologies, I didn't have that ready to go. So, well, listen, we're at the 150 mark. We got just a 1 or 2 minutes current event item that someone might want to bring up. What do we got? Anybody?
Yesterday Lex had Terry on. She runs things from the back end for Are You Smarter Than a Politician? And it was a really good episode about just the education system and just general need to know things and security and all kinds of different things. So check it out, and check it out this coming Wednesday. We'll have another episode with Greg and Zach, and hope you guys enjoy it.
Terry's great. She talks about identity theft of our children, basically at the schools, with the photograph companies that are taking the photographs of our students, and it's basically facial recognition that's sold off to somebody.
And it has GPS tied to it as well, I've heard.
Yes. So she's a really a good advocate to fighting against this. So, good job, Andrew, having her on. Thank you.
It's weird that you need to have a permission slip for anything growing up, but not for that, for them to take your picture and all that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Scary.
Hey, thanks, Todd. Reposting the stream. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll repost your streams too.
Awesome.
Lisa, what's happening with you?
Just hanging in there. I had a rough week homeschooling. Cannons hasn't been feeling too well, but we were hanging in there. Had a great show with Sean on Tuesday, and so go watch that on both of our channels. And have a happy hour tomorrow. On Friday, I should have a VSTEG tonight. There's some interesting stuff with Skullcap going on, and just pushing through. So everybody, please go watch my channel, The New Normal, or like Quinn Lisa on YouTube, and just keep fighting through this big psyop that we're in.
Right. Positive thoughts to Connor. All right. Satoshi Sean, where can we find you? What's new with you?
Check out my channel, Satoshi Sean. Follow me. We didn't get a chance to go through a lot of the current events, which there's been a crazy bunch of current events. I just did an interview with the head of marketing for Space and Time. That just went up today. You can check it out. It's only like 25 minutes or so, but it's kind of interesting to me just where we're at in Web3 and how far we've come to where we're building these these parallel systems. They're just one of the little companies that are using this. They're creating a whole new credit score, all for crypto, all based on a crypto wallet, not the person, based on the actions of the wallet. So I thought that was pretty neat when it comes to privacy.
Clever. Yeah, I'm anxious to watch that. I saw that link. Thanks, Sean, for saying that. And by the way, it's canon. And I said Connor. I do that all the time.
Okay. No. You're good.
Our warm thoughts and good energy and good vibes.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Greg, how about you, sir?
So
where can we find you? What's
I would
new
like
with
to
you?
encourage
I know you've got a lot
people,
of good things
right?
going on.
Oh my God, so much. Anybody who's science-minded wants to check out my Substack and read something called the Corona Topology Papers. The series begins there. It's at 23. And by the time you're done, if you can do the math, you will be mind blown and also have some tools you can use that do some powerful things. And I'm going to help build those tools too. My next release is going to be a program that formalizes this analysis into a general engine of compute that you can do analyses with on anything, like anything. And it's really flexible. You'll have to read about it to learn more about it, but I intend to make it so dumb anybody can use. And then the second thing is go check out that Goose Point article and replicate that. As of this moment, it is public domain. You may steal it, put it into chatbots, and replicate its success. I want you to do that. Please do. You don't even need to give me credit. You can if you want. I don't care. Just go tell people using the math tools that we have, like targeting geographic areas, what you think and why. And if you can do that, and you can do it in an articulate way that doesn't give them an excuse to come after you, that's legitimate, then we can send a message. Let's send a message.
Super. Thanks, Greg. I enjoyed our conversation after the show last week. Oh
man, we gotta talk again. Oh my God, it's cool.
Well, let's see what's going on with me. Again, you follow me here at din.social. I'm also on X at I am for I am we. And if you're interested on how we could, in money, and as far as into politics, certainly shrink the amount of money in politics, by cut the legs off of the lobbyists and the special interests, then go check out the idea and the concept Umbrella Promise, umbrellapromise.org. A shout out to Zach, who couldn't be here. He invited me on a podcast last night, and I found some new friends, Technically Trek. These folks love Star Trek, and they were talking about the economy that's presented by Gene Roddenberry in the future. And that kind of pulled up into post-labor economics. So I was invited on to talk about that.
I've been on there. It's cool podcast,
yeah. What's the name of the show? I got to check this one out.
Technically
Trek.
Well, that's right. We talked about this before. I was going to go on there once.
Yeah. He reposted on
I love freaking Star Trek.
Right channel.
Yeah. They're good folks. They're good people.
Least big surprise ever if you're just learning I love Star Trek.
Yeah, so do I. And so anyway, it was a lot of fun, and we talked about the future as AI and automation replace a lot of our jobs, and we kind of rolls towards a post-labor economics, and then into a non-scarcity or a post-scarcity world, where is kind of what's described in the described economy in the Star Trek realm or world. In sci-fi. So, Star Trek presented a lot of new ideas that became reality, like the flip phone, and so there's numerous.
iPad and everything,
yeah. So anyway,
Holodecks are coming.
Yes, but 297 people with us 6. We broke the 300 today. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, panelists, for your expertise, your knowledge, and sharing it with everybody. We appreciate all your wisdom. I always, since I'm controlling it, I get to pick, and I miss this man so much. I love to close out the show with John McAfee. Didn't he nail it? So until next week, we will see you next week, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time on Thursday, or 11 o'clock Eastern. See you next week, everybody.
10 a.m.
Thanks for watching.
A.M. Thank you. A.M. in the morning. See you, everybody.
Bye.
America's not the government, people. The America is you. It is the Grand fucking Canyon, the Rocky Mountains, the deserts of the Southwest, the Pacific fucking Ocean, the Atlantic fucking Ocean. It is the grandest continent. And what the fuck have you people done? You have turned yourself into sheep, every goddamn one of you.